Hello YouTube and welcome to another edition here on the Gravestone Pros. We are so glad that you have joined us today. It's going to be a good day. I'm going to get back to doing some work here in the shop and showing you some actual monument work going on. Not that Dad hasn't been doing actual work, but you know, the good stuff, putting stencils on, moving stones around, get them ready so that we can blast them. It's going to be great, so come along. So Dad has been gone. He is in Florida for a few weeks, and actually he has been gone for 2 weeks already, but we had some banked up videos with him doing some etching and different stuff. So I'll start by showing you what I got on my truck here. I've got a die, I've got a base, another base, and then 2 benches there you can see still in bubble wrap. And then on my rollers I have 2 more stones. This is all jet black stuff, all stuff that needs to be sandblasted. Some of it has multiple sided stuff. It's rare that I have bases, but this base right here has got stuff going on the top of it, and that base over there has got stuff going on one of the faces of it. It's going to be a triple stack, and so that's what that base is for. And then, like I said, 2 benches. One of these benches is for a young child that passed. First, we got to do some moving around of stones so that we can get working on them. Let's do it. I got this stencil cut. Figured I'd do a little chatting to you guys while I'm putting it on here. It never ceases to amaze me. I got all these stones set up, ready to go. I switched to this type of stencil that does not have a Mylar backing on it. It's just a single process stencil. And then I started pulling up the stones that I need to work on. These are all jet black. So I was assuming that they're all going to be needing this stencil. And of course, right away I found out a couple of the ones that I have kind of sitting on here require the other kind of stencil. And so right off the bat, I couldn't do 2 of them. And then I started looking at one of the third ones. That one actually was already cut and it was behind me. But the stone that is sitting over here that I was going to put it on is, of course, the wrong finish. It's supposed to be this stone. I don't know if this is out of frame for you guys or not, but this stone here is the one that I need, not the one I've got on the rollers. So it's just the way it goes. You know, you get started in direction, you get moving on stuff, and I had not been out here working on these stones for the last few weeks. We'd kind of gotten some of these moved in and had done a little bit of stuff with them, but I hadn't been messing with them, and so I sort of lost track of what parts of the process I was in with which stones. So I have to remedy that. So it just made me chuckle because I ended up kind of spinning my wheels, and before long, hour and a half had gone by, and one thing, phone call, this and that, and boom, you're in the later part of the afternoon, and you don't have a whole lot of time left. So that's just kind of what happens, and it is sometimes frustrating, but it is just part of the process. It's the way it goes, and it's not the end of the world. It's okay. The day is not lost, just some parts of it. So this stuff here is just some painter's tape. We get it at Sherwin-Williams brand, CP66 contractor grade, for those that are wondering. And when I'm using this stencil without a Mylar back, I always use this tape to hold the letters in as we do the peeling. And it works really, really phenomenally. Otherwise, as we're peeling this back to put the stencil down, some of these letters would tend to pull up and just not go in right, and this stuff here just kind of totally takes care of that problem, which is very nice. Just putting it on like you see. Nothing special about it really. It just works. When we started switching to using this stencil without the Mylar, it took us not very long to realize we were going to need something to hold the middles in as we deal the peeling process here. Luckily, pretty much the first thing we tried was this, and I might have even seen this come from somebody else's shop or something. I don't remember exactly, but the technique certainly worked. Now that I got them on, I can much more confidently start pulling this out here from the one corner over to the other. Sometimes that gets a little bit messy right there. So I'm going to reuse just a little bit of that tape because I don't need it in that section anymore. And yeah, it's working perfectly. Stuff is not coming up that I don't want. The stencil is going down really nicely. So, once you've done that, you have to do it, and then you take it right back off. Normally, I would just peel this off and toss it, but because I do have a little bit more stencil here that I'm going to be working with, I'm going to reuse some of this, because why not? It's not that expensive, but it's also not free. So, you know, I often, I like to save nickels, and sometimes I'm sure that I probably am trying to save nickels and end up spending dimes and dollars other places that I wouldn't need to, and I'm not so careful about. But you know, I've realized in life we all kind of have different things that we think about more or worry about more than others. And so some things that I would think about spending money on, somebody else might not even blink an eye at. And that is just, that's human nature. That's life. It doesn't bother me. I try not to get too hyper crazy about it, but it's just sort of how it goes. Now, here we are at the weeding process. One of my favorite parts of the entire job is pulling these out. Sometimes I will hammer or roll before I do this. Always will hammer or roll after peeling. Sometimes both, sometimes only one or the other. But, man, the no nylon stencil from Anchor is fantastic for weeding. This process is generally called weeding. And yeah, it's just made very, very easy. It cuts all the way through with no problem. Whereas when you're doing the other type of stencil with the Mylar, you want to cut through, but you don't want to cut through the Mylar. So you always have to be a wee bit careful of that. Now, you might notice my little markings here, and I had marked those legs when I was uncrating them. Not that it probably matters, but the holes are drilled already in the benches and in the legs, and they probably are like a standard pattern, so it wouldn't matter if I got them correct for which bench, but they could be different. And so Try and make sure that I always keep those pairs marked and together. Sometimes we lose track, but it's gotten frustrating a few times when we have lost track and they didn't end up working right. And so trying to be more diligent about that kind of stuff. So this stone that I'm working on right here is one that I sold to a lovely couple. They're buying it pre-need, meaning neither of these had passed, but their daughter had actually passed. And they waited a few years before getting, and I think they kind of picked out, wanted to make sure they got what they wanted at the spot they wanted. And I think they wanted a bench because this is overlooking, I believe, the St. Lawrence River. And so they wanted a spot where they could sit and enjoy the beauty of the river when they go to think about their daughter and do what people do when they go to cemeteries. Everybody's a little different with what they do and how they use a stone in a cemetery. Some people are very quick to get their stone and get it in place. Some people take quite a bit of time kind of deciding what they want and kind of getting it all lined up and set. I always tell people, don't rush it. There's no need to. When it is done, it's going to be there forever. And so I think it's a product that, bears some consideration and some time and not to be rushed. So I kind of like when people take a little bit of time to decide what they want to do. There we go. That is the weeding process. And it's funny for how long it took to kind of get stuff going and get stuff ready. This part of the process goes so fast. It's just crazy sometimes. So anyways, all I have to do now is get glued around on here and get the edges protected so we don't get any overshot. Dad warned me that overshot is something that can be a problem in our smaller booths. Stuff's bouncing around, and so he warned me to really protect the edges really good. So I will make sure to get a good amount of protection on these before actually blasting them. Alrighty guys, thank you for joining me and coming along. I hope you enjoyed this video. We got this ready to go in next week. If you tune in, probably get to see me blasting it and peeling it off so we can see the end result. But it was good to get this done. Kind of nice to accomplish something today with how everything went. You just never know what you're going to end up getting. But appreciate you. We will see you all next time.